Another episode of Nature Pal Chats.
Now, go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Nature Pal Chats. We're a program that encourages nature study and learning about God's creation. Today, we're going to be talking about nature journaling, and I'm Shannon.
I'm Andy.
I'm Christy.
So we're just going to be going around and talking about what we do for nature journaling and what we carry in our bags. So I'll start out. Each one of my kids has one of our Nature Pal Exchange pouches. I got this one off of Society6. It's probably my favorite one, better than the Redbubble. This is the one my son has. And so each one of them carries that, or it just goes in our backpack. And then I got them each their own nature journal. This is I'll show you the front of it. Right here. This is 140-pound weight paper. It's a visual journal, and this is what they use for their nature journaling. And what do you guys?
Have pages in it, or is it just all blank?
Does
it have prompts and stuff, or?
Oh no, it's all just plain paper.
Okay.
Just plain. I don't have any of those any books like that. I think Christy, you do, right? You might have showed us last or a few episodes ago.
Yeah, I have a few different types, so I don't have it right in front of me, but the boys carry, when we go out, we have the bigger versions of this, the Moleskine, just the brown paper one. Oh gosh, it's larger, and it has blank pages. This one has line pages, but yeah, they all have the blank page ones.
What about you guys, Andy? Do you?
We have a couple different things. So Target Dollar Spot has these, they're 8x8, just these little, they don't always have them, but when they do, I stock up. I think you get 5 for $3, or they have these little
those before.
Hardcover ones that are like a 5x7, and you get 3 of those for $3. So we use these, and they just fill these up. And then the past few weeks I've been thinking it might be time. We've been doing these little ones for a while, and they've filled up a couple of them. It might be time to get something more substantial for them. I use this one. It's just sketch paper, but I do watercolor and stuff. I just put something underneath the page when I'm doing that, so it doesn't go on to the next page.
So
we also have the same ones too.
Oh yeah, you have it too.
Yeah, and that's so the Moleskine ones, when we just bring colored pencils or pencils with us, they'll use the Moleskine. But for watercolor, we definitely would use this. I would not use watercolor on a Moleskine book because the paper is too thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ordered these off of Amazon. I think they're like $10. These are the 5x7 ones. But it is watercolor paper, so they use that for their watercoloring. Okay, so I bring paints. This is just the package. They're Winsor & Newton, and this is the pocket paints. They're watercolors. There's about 12 different colors inside. This is the size it is. It's really small, can fit into their little packet or their little bags, and it comes with a paintbrush. I'll show you the inside. It's kind of messy, but so just little paints inside. And these are the paints that they use when we go out, or we do a lot of our nature journaling at home. What about you guys?
So yeah, we use the same watercolors as you. I like how portable it is and how little. That's really nice. We also have, like, if we want to, sometimes the boys will use pencils, but I love fine tip markers. So these are Staedtler Tri Plus fine liners, and they come in all different colors, and they're nice if you want to just label like fine detail and all that kind of stuff.
I like that. Have you guys ever
Yeah.
seen watercolor pencils? I don't have them in front of me, but they're like colored pencils. So you can color in your whatever you nature journal, and then you go over it with a paintbrush and water, and it gives it the watercolor effect.
So we have some watercolor pencils, but we also have watercolor crayons, and I like those really well. And I don't have the tin in front of me. It's the Caran d'Ache watercolor crayons. So they're a wax-based crayon, but it's water soluble. So those are really nice. You can put your wet brush right on the crayon if you just want to pick up some color like you would with watercolor, or you can color right on the paper and then go over it like you do with the pencils.
Yeah, I grabbed our watercolor pencils. They're Artist Loft.
That's the kind we have.
Yeah, and they're cool, but I prefer watercolors over this. Like, I guess maybe you just got to get the hang of the technique, and I haven't yet. But yeah.
Well, I think those
But
are
they're
easier
cool.
for little kids also. It's
Yes.
just,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think when my kids were younger, it was easier for them to color something in with a colored pencil and then just go over it with a paintbrush.
I find a lot less brown muck when they use the crayons or the pencils, because when they're doing the watercolor, they're too impatient to let one color dry before they add something to it. And so then it just kind of gets all that muddy brownness to it.
You could also use Crayola markers for watercolor. Draw the detail and then just get water and a paintbrush and go over the lines that you have, like that you drew. If you're doing like a flower, and you could pull the color from the marker down in to fill in the flower.
Yeah.
So that's fun
I didn't
too.
know that.
So we use these paintbrushes. This is pretty much the only thing that we use. It's the kind that you put the water inside, and we have different tips. So they have a couple, I think there's 4 different tips. There's a fine, medium, and wider, and then there's also a flat one. So these are really nice because there's no spilling water.
We have some of those too. What brand is yours? Do you know?
It's the Pentel.
That looks nice.
Yeah.
I just had some cheap ones.
Yeah, we have some cheap ones, and I just decided, you know what, I'd rather spend a couple more dollars and get the nice ones because we use them so much.
This year, I just on Amazon got a package of all different size paintbrushes, and I got one set for each of my kids. So, they just throw them in their bags. So they have every size they could possibly think of for painting. And then we'll just bring a little jar for water. So, but typically I know for me, I like to do our nature journaling at home. I don't know. It's hard for me to get everyone out while we're out, pull all their paints out and everything. So a lot of times we'll just take pictures of what they want to journal. They just find something, I'll take a picture of it. And then when we go home, they can look at their picture, or we can look it up in our field guide, and then they can paint it at home, like in a more controlled setting.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, because I think sometimes we see these visuals, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook, of all the kids sitting out wherever you're at, and they all have their nature journals, but sometimes that's not possible. I think we have to give ourselves grace, and with each season, of life, we could be at a different stage when it comes to nature journaling. And especially if you have little ones and a couple of older ones, it's going to be harder for you to sit and really engage with them to nature journal out at wherever you're at.
Well, and I think the other thing with that is we have a smaller nature group, but even with that smaller group of children, one of them will be wanting to sit down and nature journal, and the rest are thinking, come on, let's go. We want to keep walking. So it's really hard for us to find that balance of when everyone is going to want to stop. And even when I go out with just my children, it's really hard to find that. I feel like there will be 1 or 2 who are, let's stop and nature journal. And it's hard to make the other ones stop and do that.
Yeah, I feel like our journals are more rushed if we do it out while we're hiking or whatever. And plus, like, since our kids are homeschooled, they don't get to be with their friends every day. And so I like to let them just do their thing when we're hiking or out with our nature group. They just play and they enjoy themselves with their friends. And then we can do our nature journaling at home. Do you guys have anything else in your bags or that you bring with you?
I usually have a pencil and a couple Sharpies and just different tip size Sharpies. And then we usually have paper towel just to brush our brushes off to dry them. But I actually saw somebody use old socks that you just cut off the ankle, and you can use it as a bracelet. So then you can just wipe your brush right on your wrist.
That's
Oh
cute.
I never thought of that before. That's cool.
Yeah. I think also it should not be something that we put pressure on ourselves or our children. I think, whether it's sometimes, I think in the past, what I've done is we've taken a stack of cardstock paper and I'll just sew a seam with my sewing machine down the middle and fold it in half and just create a book to where they could decorate the cover. And, so it doesn't even have to be necessarily something where you go out and you have to find a perfect journal. It could be something that you could just make from what you already have at your house.
Yeah. And I think another thing that, Christy, you were saying that you see these images of these big groups of children sitting around and it's idealistic. And we also see images of a lot of different nature journals. And typically when people feature their journals, they're going to feature the imagery that they're putting in there. But nature journals are more than just painting a picture or drawing a picture. There's a lot more information to it. You need to record what you're seeing. Why do you have this picture in there? What was happening? What was going on around you? So there's a lot more to nature journaling than just having a picture in there.
Yeah. I think also we've had moms ask us, how do you get your child to nature journal? And for me, I've had the best success in I sit down and my children see me as the example of I'm taking the time to journal and it's something that I enjoy, and they see the supplies out and it's not where mommy has to be like, okay, guys, it's time for you to nature journal now. But instead they see me and they see me enjoying it and they're like, oh, can we do that too? And so it's more of like, you're just leading by example. And this is borderline, I guess, mother culture, nature journaling. But I actually have a couple of journals that I keep in, like, for just me, not necessarily that I have for my kids. And one of them that falls, I guess, under the nature journal category is I have a book of firsts. Charlotte Mason talks about that. And I don't always do a good job, but of remembering because life. But so it's a Moleskine calendar, and it's like I think it's a weekly calendar. So in the beginning, it has the month. So I'll try to remember to jot down the temperature, what the weather was doing that day, where the wind was blowing, just some nature kind of things. So we could also study the trends. Mm-hmm. And then like the first week I was really good about it. So we went on a nature walk and I just recorded what we saw and just jotted down some notes about it. And then we went to see an eagle release. So I journaled that, but it's just, when my kids see me taking the time to do that, then it encourages them that, it's something that they could do as well. So.
Yeah, we started a calendar of first this year for our nature observations. So you're not going to have something for every single day because there's not going to be a first on every single day. But so this is back from November. We recorded when we noticed the first frost. And so when you go back, when it's November this year, and we record that first frost again, we can go back and we compare last year to this year. So the calendar of first, it takes a while to really be able to see any patterns because you start out with one year and you have nothing to compare it to. So that first year is really I think it's a big deal to get yourself into that habit of recording those things so that in the future you will have them to compare back to previous years. But other things that can be included in nature journals, it doesn't have to always be a painting. If you find a flower and you press it and you can pop it in there, my children will also use tracing paper and they will trace pictures. And then we'll tape these into their books. And we have, like this one, my daughter traced a whole bunch of constellations and she cut them all out. And then we just taped them in here because she was really intrigued by that. So it doesn't even have to be like a whole page. You can cut it down smaller, you know, and she's got some other things that, you know, I just hand them the washi tape and they cut it out and they pop things in there.
I love the idea of the tracing paper. It reminds me of that book that I'm reading about Beatrix Potter, brilliant artist, and how she started out as a young girl is by going through her field guides and copying the pictures that were in her field guides. And so many times, like, especially if we're not a natural artist, you know, where we you know, can draw these brilliant pictures, it takes time. Like, you have to practice. Like anything else, you have to practice. So I love that with the tracing paper because it gives our kids the opportunity to go and find pictures that they love and to copy it and, you know, be like, wow, look what I did. And then they get to practice the lines and the shapes of the birds or the constellations. That's really cool. I love that.
Yeah. And we also, we'll do computer printouts sometimes and we'll tape those in there. So this one gets all folded up and tucked inside the book, but she can open it up and she can see this thing that we were studying. So it doesn't have to be just watercolor paintings, which I think a lot of us get hung up on. And when we start asking that question of my child hates this, how can I make them enjoy it? Find something that they do love. My son, the other day, he was telling me all of the birds that he saw that afternoon. And I said, buddy, let's make a list in your nature journal of all the birds that you saw today. So it doesn't always have to be exactly the same thing. You're going to have one child who loves to draw. You're going to have another one who loves to make lists. And both of those are great aspects to have in your nature journal.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of nature journaling is the labeling, where we go through and identify and then just write everything about our day, where we were, the date, and then just like a little description of what happened. It's just, and it's fun to look back on that, the memories it creates.
Yeah, one other journal that I wanted to show you that I keep. I love these books. They're so cool. They're the decomposition notebooks. I have a few different types, but it's just a marble notebook. And I usually save this for the winter, but I go through all the flowers that I pressed the previous summer, and I'll go through and just, I don't know if you can see that, I'll Mod Podge the flower right onto the pages. And I'll go through and I'll get like the scientific name of the flower and just some facts about, you know, where it's native to, or just some things about the flower itself. And I'll Mod Podge that all in there. And this is just something I keep for myself. The boys don't do it. And it's just fun to look back and see the different, you know, it brings back memories of just different adventures that we went on. And whether it was one of the boys that picked a flower for me, you know, it's just really sweet memories. And another way to journal your, you know, your nature outings.
Yeah.
So.
All right. You guys have anything else you want to share?
I think that was it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. And if you would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can do that, or you can go to our Instagram feed and follow us there at Nature Pal Exchange. You can also hashtag your pictures to Nature Pal Exchange with your nature journaling tips or anything you want to share with us, and we can feature it on our YouTube videos. Thanks for watching.